The United Nations has conducted some research involving over 1,300 different scientists around the world. These 1,300 different scientists have concluded that there's more than a 95% probability that us as humans have caused the Earth to rapidly rise in temperature. You may be wondering how much the Earth's temperature has rose, and it is 1 degree Celsius, which is equivalent to 1.8 degrees Fahrenheit, since 1990, according to NASA.gov. And I know 1.8 degrees over the span of 120 years does not seem like a lot at all, but the important part about that is over 50% of that 1.8 degrees in Fahrenheit has increased since 1970, which has only been the past 50 years. As we know, 1970s, post-war era, production rates, business started booming, which causes more carbon dioxide emitted into the air through all the production rates. Fossil fuel increase since the post-war era has increased 5% per year. And as you can see on this, it's showing average years and comparing it, and then right here is where 1970s is, and it has just clearly skyrocketed, and it keeps going up. At today's rate, these fossil fuels comprise over 80% of our current primary energy demand around the world. RoyalSociety.org concluded that it is very likely that 1989 to 2019 was the hottest ever recorded consecutive years. A large range of other observations further concludes this, which would be the warming in the northern hemisphere, ice caps melting, Greenland ice sheets are melting as well, sea levels continue to rise. The analysis of these trends of warming heavily suggests that without the emissions of us humans burning coal and oil, it is very unlikely that 13 out of 15 of the warmest years ever, they would have never been recorded as the warmest ever, or at least in such an abrupt manner. And this was declared by the Union of Concerned Scientists, UCSUSA.org. At present, humans are putting an estimated 9.5 billion metric tons of carbon into the atmosphere each year, and this is by burning fossil fuels, and another 1.5 billion by deforestation. Of this human-produced carbon, forests and other vegetation absorb around 3.2 million metric tons, and that leaves about 5 billion left absorbed into the atmosphere, which raises the global average carbon dioxide concentrate to about 2.3 parts per million, and that is per year. So, as stated on climate.gov, since 1750s, the humans have increased the carbon dioxide emitted into the atmosphere 50%. That's a lot. Concluding that, the industrial activities our modern civilization depend on, and these have what has raised the atmospheric carbon dioxide levels from 280 parts per million to 414 parts per million, and that is only in the last 150 years. NASA.gov also had a panel similar to what I previously stated, and they also concluded that once again, there is more than a 95% probability that us humans, and this science backs it, us humans have raised the Earth's temperature at a very rapid rate. Now that we are aware of the data and the science backing that we are clearly the issue, what will happen if we keep moving at this rate? WorldWildlife.org gives some great examples. The rising of sea levels will impact over 1 billion people by the year 2050. And I know climate change, at least I used to think this way as well, we wouldn't see the repercussions, or at least I wouldn't be affected in my lifetime. 2050 is very soon. We will probably all be having our own families, and they will be heavily affected as well as us, which is very strange and scary to know that it will happen in our lifetime. The coral reefs are at severe risk, and the changing in the ocean's temperature will cause them to be more susceptible to disease and death. The coral reefs are so important because they provide tons of jobs to local communities. They're a good source of food, medicine. They protect our shorelines. The coral reefs do a lot, and I think a lot of people don't realize that. Over 2 billion people will have a loss of income, food, and stable communities without the coral reefs there. Arctic seas are warming, causing alarming rates of extinction in wildlife. Heat waves will become more frequent and severe around the world. Us living in Michigan, we don't experience heat waves. We might have a hot summer, but it's nothing scorching, and unfortunately we will be experiencing that. Global warming increases the risk of heavy rainfall and other precipitations, which causes major flooding to happen. When you mix that with already rising sea levels, it can be very dangerous. Aside from humans being harmed, think about all of the animals that are going to not have homes that are habitable any longer. Now that we know that we are to blame because serious science backs that, we have to fix our problem. The fact that we are able to reverse all these issues just by changing the way we live proves even further that we are actually the issue. The main things that you and your household cause will affect the climate. The things you eat, your home and your lights, all of your energy in your home, and all of your mobile devices. The average U.S. citizen emits 20 tons of greenhouse gas emissions per year due to things that I just listed. Some examples of how you can cut back are solar panels in your home. And I know it seems really far-fetched and not really accessible, but it is. In today's world, you can easily get solar panels. Even if it's small changes in your house, they are very accessible. And if you can't do that, you can actually contact where your utilities are, DTE, and ask them if there are renewable energy sources to switch your plan to. And usually it doesn't affect your bill or anything like that. One huge thing that I know a lot of people aren't aware of, the food we eat and the production of our food is one of the biggest causes of carbon dioxide and greenhouse gases in the atmosphere. Even if your family alone can cut down all of the food waste in your house and strictly buy what you know you're 100% going to eat, that can cause huge changes. And also it helps your bank account. So I don't see why more people aren't trying to do that. Oh, you can also take public transportation, ride your bike, and cut back on all of those kinds of things. Time magazine published an article about the latest report from the United Nations, and it reads as this. The message is clear. The world has precisely 10 months to get our act together if there is any hope of staving off a climate catastrophe by the end of the century. They are giving us hope that we as people can help reverse the effects of global warming. We just have to stick together.